Hou ze mijn vrienden FL hier zo. Vandaag zal ons verschillende tromremmen of blitsbrekers vergelijken en hulle effectiviteit analyseren. So hey guys, FL guy here. Today we got 5 different muzzle brakes. We are gonna compare and see how they do. So for the different muzzle brakes, we got the regular Belgian style muzzle brake that we're gonna look at. Then we have an FNC type muzzle brake. We have a lightweight titanium muzzle brake that is styled after the Belgian one. We have an inch pattern Australian one and the WarZ muzzle brake by Dsarms. All of these muzzle brakes will go through the same testing, and that consists out of 7 rounds per muzzle brake. 2 rounds to see how they run on the rifle. Then 3 rounds where we shoot them slightly faster. We're going to analyze their pattern on target and how the muzzle climbs. And then we're going to shoot 2 rounds and have the camera placed in front of the rifle so you can actually see how much of a muzzle climb this rifle has and which direction does it climb, left, right, up, down. So let's get started. The first muzzle brake we have is the Belgian one. Let's get to the next testing. Testing part number 2, see how the muzzle climbs. So what we can see here is a 3-round grouping with the Belgian muzzle brake. So that concludes the testing on the Belgian one. Let's go with the titanium muzzle brake by Dsarms. So next up we have the titanium muzzle brake by Dsarms. It is super good titanium. Don't ask me what level it is or what grade. And it weighs around roughly 40% less than the regular Belgian muzzle brake. Very solid, made in the USA for those of you that are 922R people. So let's run it and see how it goes. First up, 2 rounds. Cool, let's get to the second part of the testing. Let's get to the next part to see how much muzzle climb we got. So here in target, we see the 3 rounds rapid fire and we see a really good grouping. It does surprise me. I thought this grouping was not going to be as good as the one with the original muzzle brake, but I would say this is a big plus on this one. So that concludes testing for the titanium muzzle brake. Let's take it up with the next one, which is going to be the WarZ muzzle brake by Dsarms. Next up is the WarZ muzzle brake by Dsarms. It is styled after an A2 birdcage style muzzle brake, and let's see how it does. I'm also out here in the Texas heat. I'm like dying. I sweat dripping all over me. So let's hurry up with that review before I completely die of dehydration. All right, let's do the next part of the testing. Cool. This is the impact of the 3 rounds on target. I have to say I aimed a little bit off to the left. That's why the grouping isn't that bad. One thing I have to add about this muzzle brake is that shooting it feels very smooth compared to the other muzzle brakes. All I can say for now. So let's take it up and mount the FNC type muzzle brake on it. But before we're going to do that, I'm going to have a sip of water because it's so hot out here. Water. Next up is the FNC muzzle brake. Let's see how that does. So this is the 3 rounds with the FNC type muzzle brake on it. Yeah, it's a very smooth shooting muzzle brake too. So the grouping is not the worst. And yeah, that's all I can say so far to it right now. Let's get to the last one. That is the inch pattern muzzle brake. Now we get to the last muzzle brake that we got for today. That's the inch pattern muzzle brake. Yeah, let's see how it does. I just want to emphasize, I'm not a big fan of the inch pattern SLRs. I think they just look goofy. So does this muzzle brake, but maybe it does well. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. So if you look at this pattern, I mean, it was easy to reacquire the follow-up shots back on target, but it had a very distinct drift to the left, which I do not appreciate. But anyhow, not a bad muzzle brake. So let's get to the closing thoughts. So we started shooting the regular Belgian muzzle brake. That is the most common muzzle brake that most FALs have. And that one worked well. We had a decent grouping on paper. It's a very common muzzle brake. It's one I'm very used to shooting. So I have no qualms with that. Then we switched over to the titanium one. Yes, it is lightweight. It is almost 1.5 ounces less than the regular Belgian muzzle brake. And at the beginning, I was very hesitant shooting it. And then I was surprised how well the follow-up shots came after the first one and how well the muzzle brake performed. And obviously it's titanium and it is a really quality muzzle brake. So a big plus to Dsarms for releasing that. And it's definitely one of the favorite muzzle brakes that I shot today. Then we went to the WarZ muzzle brake. The WarZ muzzle brake is like an A2 burst cage style muzzle brake. It performed well. I've had this muzzle brake before on my OSW, and it is not a bad muzzle brake. It didn't strike me as a fantastic one either, but I will say it worked well. The grouping was decent on paper, and it had not a bad muzzle climb. That was really big. I must say the muzzle climb reduction was big on that, so there's pros in that. Then went over to the FNC one. It looks kind of funky on an FAL. I'm not gonna lie, that weird like bottlenecks type design, but to my surprise, it ran really fun. Like as you can see in this video, it performs really well. The biggest surprise of today is the FNC brake. Let's see how it does. Just for shits and giggles, 10 rounds. Woo! Follow me to the target. 10 rounds. Like, that is not a bad grouping with the 308. I'll take it. So, FNC one definitely has a special spot in my heart. It runs and runs, and it doesn't have much of a muzzle climb either. So, that's like the big runner-up in this entire game. And then we shot the inch pattern / Browning style muzzle brake at the end. I just don't like it. I think it looks like weird, that elongated design. So I shelved it as a cool muzzle brake, nice to have. For those of you that want to have like a Browning SLR type muzzle brake, go for it, but that's about it. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this short video on 5 different muzzle brakes. I have the link to each muzzle brake in the description below, so you can go on Dsarms and look at them and make up your own thoughts on them. We have only shot 10 rounds per muzzle brake, so it's not a long, extensive review. We're going to do some more in-depth review coming in the next couple months, but that is just here as a start. Click like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, link is below. Also on Twitter, since this is the new kind of social media platform I want to establish myself on. And just follow for more content. The more I hear from you, the more support I get, and the more we can do FAL stuff. So, baie dankie en tot de volgende keer weer. Dan praten ons oor die LM5 en die FN. Cheers.